Okay, let's get started. Next slide, please. Looks like we have quite a bit of attendees today. So hello and welcome everyone. We're delighted to have you here today for this informative webinar on Mobility Project Voucher Phase 2 application process and requirements. On behalf of the Clean Mobility Options Program Administration Team, congratulations, you've made it to Phase 2. Thank you all for attending today, and we really hope that this informational webinar is exactly what you need to complete your next steps in the application. I'm excited to welcome you all to the Mobility Project Voucher Application Phase 2 walkthrough webinar. I'm Mateo Henderson from CalSTART, and I'm joined by my colleague Joey Juhasmkolski from the Shared Use Mobility Center. Together, we're part of the program administrative team here at the Clean Mobility Options, and we're here to guide you through the Phase 2 application process for the Mobility Project Voucher. Our goal today is to provide you with valuable information and guidance on completing Phase 2 of the application. By the end of this webinar, you'll have a clear understanding of the technical assistance available, the timeline for completing your application, and the specific actions you need to take to complete a successful Phase 2 application submission. Before we dive into the details, let's go over a few logistical points. First, I want to let you know that this webinar is being recorded, and in about 2 weeks, you'll be able to access the recording, hopefully sooner, on the cleanmobilityoptions.org website. This will be helpful for future references or for those who couldn't attend today. Throughout this presentation, we have allocated time for verbal questions. If you have any questions, please provide your name and organization beforehand. We encourage you to keep your questions focused on the MPV Phase 2 application. And if you have any more specific or detailed inquiries about your application or general questions about CMO, we have ongoing technical assistance available, which we will discuss shortly. Once again, congratulations on your applications and thank you for joining. The CMO Voucher Pilot Program is a collaboration between the California Air Resources Board, CARB, and the Program Administrative Team, which includes CalSTART, Shared Use Mobility Center, and CivicWell, as well as the California Energy Commission. Our collective goal is to effectively administer the program and promote clean and sustainable mobility options throughout California. In this webinar, we will cover the CMO program overview, the Mobility Project Voucher Phase 2 application process, sections 1 through 7, and recap Phase 2, including the next steps. By the end of this webinar, you will have a clear understanding of the program and be ready to proceed with your Clean Mobility Project Phase 2 application. Before we begin, just wanted to take a quick poll. And I'll pop it up right now. What is your confidence level towards completing Phase 2 of the MPV application? Very confident, confident, or need support? Give it a couple more seconds here. Okay, great. Well, let me share the results here. It looks like there's an even distribution here. Very confident, confident, and need support. For those that do need support, we will be reviewing the technical assistance for the Phase 2 application. So do know that we definitely will provide as much information and support to you while completing your Phase 2 application. For those that are very confident, that's great. Again, we are here to support you with any questions that you have, so do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, so let's start with the program overview. In this section, we'll provide a brief but informative overview of the CMO program. We'll touch upon its background, goals, voucher types, and technical assistance. So let's get started. Now let's talk about what we hope to achieve through the Clean Mobility Options program. These goals are designed to make a real impact on transportation in California communities. We want to ensure that everyone in California has access to clean and sustainable transportation options that can contribute to a healthier environment and a better quality of life. By expanding the availability and affordability of zero-emission mobility choices, we can create a more equitable and sustainable transportation system for all. Additionally, another goal is to provide funding and support for projects that are designed with input and involvement of the community members. We believe that no one understands the transportation needs and challenges of a community better than the people who live there. By actively involving community members in the planning and decision-making process, we can create transportation solutions that truly meet their needs. We also want to ensure that everyone in California has access to clean and sustainable transportation choices. We're working towards making these options safe so people can feel secure while traveling. We also want them to be reliable so people can depend on them to get where they need to go. Convenience is another key aspect. We want transportation options that are easy to use and fit seamlessly into people's daily lives. And lastly, affordability is crucial. We're committed to making clean mobility options accessible to all, regardless of income or background. We aim to help reduce pollution and create cleaner and healthier air for all Californian community as well. By tackling transportation-related emissions, we can make significant strides in improving air quality and promoting a more sustainable future. These are the goals we're actively pursuing through the Clean Mobility Options program. And by joining forces, working together, we can truly transform transportation in California. I want to highlight the one-on-one support available to all mobility project voucher phase 2 applicants. We understand that application process can be challenging, which is why we have created a range of resources to assist you every step of the way. So let's explore how you can access this valuable support. First and foremost, our regional core facilitators are dedicated to helping you succeed. You can connect with them through various channels such as email, scheduled virtual meetings, and phone calls. They're here to answer your questions and definitely will provide you guidance tailored towards your needs. Now, when it comes to assistance, we're here to support you in multiple areas. One, we can ensure that you have the access to necessary tools and knowledge for a successful application. So let's dive into the specific areas where we can offer our expertise. So whether you need assistance with refining your project design, receiving budget advice, and financial sustainability planning, creating a milestone schedule, developing partnerships, or identifying community resource contributions, we've got you covered. Our goal is to equip you with everything you need so that you have the support to submit a strong and impactful application. However, it's important to clarify what our assistance is not. While we can guide you through a process and provide expert advice, we cannot fill out the application or write the budget on your behalf. We want to empower you to take ownership of these crucial aspects and showcase your unique vision. So please remember that wherever you need help, don't hesitate to reach out. We're committed to supporting you throughout the entire application journey, and we ensure a successful application and project. So I'm excited to introduce our phase 2 application technical assistance cohort facilitators. These facilitators are here to provide support and guidance through the application process. So allow me to introduce them to you all. First, in Northern California, we have Sarah Wang as an expert in clean mobility options who will be assisting applicants in this region. In Southern California, we have Katarina Hoy, who is passionate about sustainable transportation and will be working closely with regional applicants. And then alongside Katarina, we have Joey Juhaslov-Komsky, bringing expertise in clean mobility and community-driven solutions. Our facilitators are available to answer your questions. They provide feedback and offer ongoing technical assistance to ensure your application is strong and impactful. Again, please don't hesitate to reach out to your respective facilitator if you need any assistance or have any inquiries. They're here to support you. And we did send an introduction email to you with a connection to them via email. Now let's meet the rest of the Phase 2 application technical assistance team as well. These team members specialize in different areas to provide targeted support for your specific needs. We have Nora Katabi, who is well-versed in the financial aspects and insurance requirements related to the Clean Mobility Option Program. Next, we have Katie Smet, who will guide you through the process of setting project milestones and navigating the voucher agreement. And lastly, we have Grace Pearson, who is dedicated to ensuring that tribal communities have the necessary resources and support for the clean mobility initiatives. These team members bring their unique expertise to assist you in different aspects of the application process. So feel free to reach out to Nor, Katie, or Grace for any questions that you have. And in general, the entire Clean Mobility Options administrative team. Great, so in this section, we'll provide you with a comprehensive overview of what you need to know and what is required during Phase 2. So let's get started. In Phase 2 of the Mobility Project Voucher application process, you as an applicant are getting ready to submit your final application. This is a significant milestone as you work towards securing funding for your Clean Mobility Options project. Now, let's dive into the details of what is expected from you in this phase. To ensure that your final application is complete and meets all requirements, please take the time to carefully review the requirements and guidelines provided in the Mobility Project Voucher Application Guide, which we'll put into the chat right now. And then also just pay attention to the details please pay attention to the details, which is very key to the progress of your application. Now let's break down the Mobility Project Voucher application process in Phase 2. As you have advanced to this stage, it's time to focus on the core components of your application. So here's a brief overview of what you need to consider. First, give special attention to the project narrative and team profile details. This section allows you to provide a comprehensive overview of your project, including its objectives, implementation strategies, and the team members involved. Next, it's crucial to create a project milestone schedule. This schedule outlines the key milestones and timeline for your project, ensuring a smooth and successful implementation. It demonstrates your ability to plan and execute your project effectively. The community outreach plan is another essential aspect. It emphasizes how you will engage and involve the community through the project, seeking their active participation and valuable input. It showcases your commitment to inclusivity and community-driven solutions. Additionally, address the community resource contribution. This section outlines the additional resources that will contribute to the success of your project. It demonstrates your ability to leverage partnerships and maximize the impact of your project within the community. The budget worksheet is a vital component as well. It details the breakdown of your project's budget, includes anticipated costs. A well-planned and realistic budget is essential for demonstrating financial responsibility and feasibility. Remember to include a financial sustainability plan as well, demonstrating how your project will remain financially viable and stable beyond the voucher period. This plan highlights your long-term vision and commitment to sustaining the benefits of your project. And lastly, gather any supporting documents that are relevant to your project, such as permits, certifications, and other documentations. These documents provide evidence and credibility to the support of your application. And again, we will go over the actual step-by-step process of the application, but this is just a review of what will be included in these sections. Now that you've reached Phase 2 of the MPV application, it's time to familiarize yourself with the guidelines for submitting your final application. So let's explore the details together. First and foremost, mark your calendars with the important deadline for submitting your Phase 2 application, which is August 16th, 2023. We will repeat this. It's crucial to remember and to meet this deadline to ensure your application is reviewed. While reaching phase 2 is a significant milestone, it's important to understand it doesn't guarantee receiving an award. The final applications will undergo a thorough review process to determine all requirements have been fulfilled. After the final review process is complete, you will receive a notification of your application status. It's crucial to await approval before initiating any project work. Additionally, it's worth noting that the application submission and review process operates on a rolling basis. This means that the application will proceed and be reviewed as they are received, allowing for a timely and efficient review process. Lastly, keep in mind that project costs cannot be reimbursed until the voucher agreement is executed. It's important to consider this as you plan your project timeline and budget, ensuring financial alignment and compliance with your program requirements. With these guidelines in mind, you'll be well equipped to navigate the phase 2 application process, and remember the deadline and anticipate the review process. Good luck as you prepare and submit your application. Now let's take a closer look at the Mobility Project Voucher application timeline, which outlines the key milestones and deadlines for the application process. So phase 1 of the MPV application process has already concluded, as we know, and everyone here has advanced to phase 2. The next important deadline to keep in mind is the phase 2 application submission deadline, again, August 16, 2023. Once the application review is complete, you will receive the Mobility Project Voucher Notice of Intent to Award. This notification will inform you about the status of your application and whether you have been selected for an award. In the early fall, after the Notice of Intent to Award is issued, the voucher agreement execution will take place. This agreement will finalize the terms and conditions of the award and sets the stage for project implementation and must be executed within 180 days of notice to award. It's important to note that the timeline for the application review and approval process can vary. Again, depending on when you submit your phase 2 application, the PA team will have up to 6 weeks to review, clarify, and approve it. As part of the application process, you have the benefit of application technical assistance, which we discussed, which will help streamline the review process. It is designed to provide guidance and support to applicants, ensuring a smooth and efficient review of applications. With this clear timeline in mind, remember to submit your phase 2 application before the deadline, anticipate the review and award process, and utilize the application TA if needed. We are here to support you. As you navigate through phase 2 of the Mobility Project Voucher application process, it's crucial to have the right resources at your disposal. So let's take a closer look at the Mobility Project Voucher phase 2 application guide, which we will add into the chat here for access as well. The phase 2 application guide is a valuable reference that can use throughout the entire application process. The benefit of this is that it provides detailed information and guidance for each section of the application, helping you better understand the requirements and expectations. You can access the phase 2 application guide at cleanmobilityoptions.org/MPV-application. In addition to the phase 2 application guide, it's important to familiarize yourself with the full program requirements that is outlined in the implementation manual. The implementation manual, as you all know, provides a comprehensive overview of the program requirements, guidelines, and expectations. It covers essential details that will guide you through the entire MPV program project. To access the implementation manual, simply visit cleanmobilityoptions.org in the implementation resource section. It's a valuable resource that will ensure you have a complete understanding of the program scope and requirements. By utilizing both the MPV phase 2 application guide and implementation manual, you'll have the necessary tools, information in order to navigate the Mobility Project Voucher application process successfully. Be sure to refer to these resources as you prepare your phase 2 application. And lastly, one of the key aspects of phase 2 is accessing the application. So all phase 2 applicants have access to the application via their original link to the phase 2 application form. The application portal offers a convenient way for applicants to access and complete their phase 2 application. You have similar experience with the phase 1, so kind of same way. It allows you to pick up where you left off, save your progress as you navigate through the form, and always go back to where you need to continue. So all of that said, just remember that applications are not accepted by email, which we have familiarized you with in the phase 1 application. Again, congratulations on advancing to phase 2. At this point, we will have Joey discuss the actual sections of the application to get a clearer view of what is detailed in the specific sections.
Thank you so much, Mateo. And yes, I second the congratulations to you all. It's great to be here presenting with you and moving on to the next step, working towards what look like some really awesome projects. So what we're going to do now is just go through each section of the application phase 2. Maybe you've had a chance to familiarize yourself with some of this already, but we're going to talk about the requirements and suggested options for some of these things as well. So let's jump right in. So this will look familiar. In the first section, primary contact information, applicants will have to enter in an application key that will be provided by your cohort facilitator after this webinar, which will help incorporate foundational materials submitted in phase 1 into phase 2 and allow you to pick up where you left off. You're going to get that code, but just as a heads up, if not having that code right away is not going to prevent you from getting started working on your application right away. So don't sweat it if you don't have it just yet. So as in phase 1, the lead applicant associated with the application key is the party that will, if awarded, enter into a legal agreement with the CMO administrator and be legally responsible for project implementation and oversight of the entire project team. So neither that application key nor the invitation to apply to phase 2 is transferable to another organization. So yeah, section 2 is going to be the team and project details. It's going to address the requirements about your application team, and it's divided into 2 sections: the project milestone schedule and also the additional project narrative. So the applicant, you, will have to complete a project milestone schedule that should include milestones for your project, such as planning, construction, deployment of your vehicles and service, operation, and then also reporting, and then community engagement, those activities as well. And you can use a template that's available on the CMO website. We can drop that into the chat right now. And you can also see it right here on the screen. The project milestone schedule is going to define key steps and timelines needed to implement your project and operate the service for a minimum of 4 years. Here's kind of just a small, quick example, just for a visual of project milestone schedule. Again, a full template is available on the CMO website that you can use, but here you kind of see what you're going to be getting into as far as filling this out, like milestone number, brief descriptions, a timeline, and calendar dates once you actually have an official start date. Okay, along with that milestone schedule, there is an additional narrative component. Here you can kind of discuss any additional requirements or background related to successfully implementing your project and operating the service that were not covered in the phase 1 application. You don't need to restate any information necessarily, but this could be things that For example, if the project relies on a public process for key approvals, whether it's through a agency or city council or something like that, this is a place to describe that and sort of back up maybe some of that stuff in your milestone schedule, some of that information. All right, that was section 2. Now section 3 is going to be the community-based organization, CBO, support. This addresses a requirement from CMO that you will need support from a project-related CBO. And here's kind of what it's going to look like in the application. Just real quick, want to highlight that tribal governments do not have to fulfill this CBO requirement. And just a reminder as well that public agencies are not considered to be CBOs. So the lead applicant, if you are a CBO, that's great. Or if not, you will need to submit a letter of support for this proposal from a project-related CBO. To be considered a project-related CBO in the Green Mobility Options Program, that organization that's providing that letter of support must meet at least 2 of the following criteria. And real quick, we'll talk through those. The organization should be place-based, that has an explicit geographic focus in the area that includes your proposed project area. So are they doing work where you're going to be doing work? Staff members, volunteers, or board members of that CBO reside in the community where the project is located, or that organization has a demonstrated track record of at least 1 year of providing services in the proposed project area. Now I said or, but just remember, it has to meet at least 2 of these 3 criteria. All right, so when selecting yes or no for the field, does the applicant meet the criteria to be considered a community-based organization? If selecting yes, you'll have to check at least 2 of those 3 boxes. If you select no, you need to provide the name of an eligible CBO that supports the project, and you must complete those fields accurately and in the same manner as in the paragraph above. In the field, illustrate how statements checked are true with brief examples or details. Provide a simple example to substantiate the selections. So you're going to be asked to back up, checking 2 out of these 3 criteria. An example of how to do that would be something like what's written here. Our organization is headquartered in Fresno. We have a stated mission of focusing on the San Joaquin Valley. All our board and staff are located here, and we have been operating here since 2010. So that would actually check all 3 of those boxes. So in the letters of support, this is where you'll be uploading those. Again, they should include a description of how the CBO meets those minimum definition criteria. And also, it's a letter of support. It should demonstrate that the CBO is in fact supporting your proposed project. There are some great letters of support templates that are available on the CMO website that you can use, and those CBOs can use as well. Okay, great. Let's move on to the next section, section 4, which is the community engagement activities. This section addresses the community engagement plan and the community resources contributions requirements. So in the field description of community outreach plan, you'll be asked to provide a detailed description of the strategy to engage with community residents through outreach and education activities. This should include identifying key partners, what their roles will be, and their knowledge and experience within the community. It should describe the proposed plan to engage residents during all stages of the project, so planning, during operations, and so on. And it should include activities to promote and advertise the service with potential users and to conduct outreach to local businesses, stakeholders, et cetera, who might be affected by, say, new construction or parking removal or changes in those things, those aspects of the project. So this next part is going to address your community resource contributions. So community resource contributions are required community investments that show a commitment to a resource contribution that potential partners are prepared to supplement your voucher funding. Resource contributions are assets contributed to the project that support the long-term sustainability to meet the 5-year voucher agreement term that includes a minimum of 4 years of service operation. Resource contributions do not need to be monetary, and applicants are not required to estimate the monetary value of sort of like in-kind resource contributions. Applicants have to provide a list of at least 5 community resource contributions with their application, phase 2. And just a heads up on where to find a resource there. On page 41 of the implementation manual, there is a table that has examples of community resource contributions, example organizations or entities that those contributions could come from, and then also what sort of supplementing documents you would need to provide to show evidence of that potential community resource contribution. We'll talk about that also in a couple slides. So once again, that's page 41 of the implementation manual. So, but real quick, just a few examples of resource contribution types. Relationships with CBOs. This can be, more than one community-based organization that's going to support your project in some way. Project-related labor costs for planning, labor, and construction that are paid for by maybe another funding source. And then other things kind of like materials, assets, technology, and equipment that are already owned and or donated to the project to be used during the funding term. So some kind of in-kind contribution or something that you may already have that you're looking to utilize for implementing this project. So as I said, you will also be asked to provide some documentation that's going to support each individual community resource contribution. Here's just a couple examples of what a community resource contribution could be, and then what the document would be. So let's say it's a relationship with a CBO. An example of a document for that would be a letter of support. These would be sort of additional CBOs and additional letters of support on top of the CBO support requirement, if you had to fill out that part as well. Technology or equipment that you have already, some sort of documentation of having purchased that or maybe received that as a donation. And then if there is additional funding that you have to put towards your project, whatever documents that you've received that additional funding and it's going to the project, maybe like a grant agreement, some documentation around that. And then once again, here at the bottom, you see page 41, table 3 in the implementation manual has kind of a more robust list of resource contributions, where they could come from, and then documentation. Great. Okay. Now, what we're going to talk about is the budget in the financial sustainability section. This section addresses the budget and your plan for financial sustainability. And here's kind of what that is going to look like in the application itself. All right. So in the field, budget using the CMO template, please, you'll be asked to upload a project budget using the CMO template available on the CMO website. I think we'll drop a link to that in the chat. Really important with this is to ensure that the summary total in the budget you submit is consistent with the amount of funding that you requested in phase one. So the sum should match that number. The project should describe total estimated project costs during the 5-year voucher agreement term, itemized by project cost components. We're asking you to provide a clear, concise, and reasonable project budget that lists all expenditures and sources of those funds in a logical sequence that leads to the on-time completion of the project. This mobility project voucher budget template is available online on the CMO website. And the budget sheet is also going to be the basis for your payment requests as you're being reimbursed throughout the course of your project. Okay, very dense slide here in image, but don't strain your eyes. This is just a sample of the CMO budget, kind of what the template looks like. Again, a sample budget is available on the CMO website, but you see here it's kind of broken down by a few categories, and yeah, don't stare at this too long. We'll work on your budgets together. All right. Okay. Next, the applicant must describe how the project can be sustainable after the state funding is spent. This next section addresses strategies for financial sustainability and risk management. All right. So in the field, description of plans to sustain the service for at least the 5-year voucher agreement term. Describe plans to ensure the project can be sustainable after state funding is spent. Discuss plan commitments, resources, and/or strategies that will carry service operations beyond the 4-year service operation requirement through to at least the 5-year voucher agreement term. Optionally, you can discuss what the desired outcome is for the service after the 5-year voucher term and any preliminary plans that support this outcome. So a little clarification there. This voucher will fund operations through year 4 and then only administrative costs for the 5th year. So this is about how are you also going to have operations continuing in that 5th year. Then in the field, descriptions of plans to ensure vehicles and equipment continue to serve the community if operations discontinue after 5 years. You'll discuss what will happen to project resources if the project does not continue beyond the 5-year term. So maybe there's a contingency plan to utilize the vehicles, the charging infrastructure, and so on that you purchase with the CMO funding in some other way beyond the term of the service. The term of the voucher, excuse me. Okay, and then in the field, additional budget and financial sustainability documentation. You can provide and upload any documents that validate your plans or expectations described in the previous 2 fields. Yeah, think of these as kind of attachments to the argument you're making that your project is sustainable and can be sustainable. Great. And then actually the next section, supporting documents, you're able to upload even more documents that support your application. You know, there can't be too much. And this has, you know, the option where the first one is letters of commitment from each sub-applicant and project partner. These are vital to show that everyone on your team is truly on board. Applicants may choose to submit letters of commitment for sub-applicants here, or you could also wait until after the potential voucher award, in case anyone's really just waiting to see what happens. Before voucher execution, so after award, but before you're actually signing the contract, you will be required to include a letter of commitment from each sub-applicant that expresses their support and commitment to the lead applicant and the project. And then in this last section here, additional supporting documents that are optional. This is where you can submit documentation to further support any responses to other questions in the application. You should indicate sort of to which field, to what component of this application, this additional documentation is purposed. And, you know, at the same time, this is completely optional. The next section is the attestation and signature section. Just remember that that first primary contact named in section 1 is the person that must complete and sign the signature fields on behalf of the lead applicant, which acknowledges that the lead applicant in that primary contact will comply with the critical program and application rules and procedures. Always a good idea before signing something like this to make sure the whole team and perhaps even legal counsel has read through and agrees to comply with all the requirements for the application should you be potentially awarded the voucher. And that's it. So I know that was a lot, but we do have a significant amount of time left here for some Q&A. So Matteo, if you want to come back, and my guess is if we can use the raise hand tool.
Yes, questions. We got a question from Craig Flax. So Craig, okay. I'm gonna unmute you and feel free to chat. Give me 1 second. There you go, Fred. There you go, Craig.
Hey, thank you guys very much for a very clear and concise webinar. I have a weird question. We have 2 different organizations offering to, 1, donate a bus to the program, and 2, sell us a used bus. The used bus fits all the descriptions. It's an electric bus. It's BYD. I don't know if it's on the current catalog for HVIP. So I'm curious if obviously if it's donated, then you don't really care. But if we're getting it at a steep discount and we're buying it and it's used and it's not in the current catalog, would it still qualify?
Yes. Maybe State Cesar can help you out with that.
Yes. Hi, hi everyone. I'm Cesar Hernandez. I'm the program manager at CMO. And Chris, thank you. Craig, thank you for your question. I think what we need to identify is that if it's listed in the CVRP approved vehicles, that's basically what the IAM kind of looks towards as far as making sure that the vehicles are like eligible for this program. If it falls outside of it, like it's more than likely and could be questionable. So I think that this definitely warrants maybe some more information about the vehicle itself. But for the most part, we are based off of eligibility, as long as it's in that resource, then you should be good to go.
Perfect. And I'm sorry, I have one more quick question about section 3. Which of the following, if we have 2 following traits? We definitely have been serving the area for years, but if we win the voucher grant, we will also be physically based there. We are not currently physically based there, but we will be with with this grant. So curious if that would make us count as a CBO or if we'd still need to get some letters.
Good question, Craig. I think that if there are issues kind of checking all 3 boxes, it just might be good in the following conversations with your co-facilitator to work through that and see if there is, if it would be wise to be sure and just get another CBO to sign on.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sure. And yeah, I encourage anyone else in attendance to go ahead and use the raise hand tool and ask questions. Potentially it's to the benefit of everyone here to hear that and hear the answer. So don't be shy.
I just want to correct something that's in the chat, but I think I was referring to the HVIP vehicles that are on the list. We can definitely review the vehicle that has been talked about, Craig. So if you can, maybe make sure to email your cohort facilitator, and then we can have Carb and some of the PA team review that.
Nice, thanks. Okay, I saw Brian Nelson raise a hand. So feel free to unmute Brian and ask your question. You should be able to unmute Brian.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted now.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm sorry if you covered this already. One thing I was curious about, and I'm with Via, by the way, are these, once we submit the application, are these awarded on a rolling basis, or at the end of the August 16th timeline, are they all announced at one time together?
I can answer that. Thank you for your question, Brian. And because all applicants are moving in different speeds, say the application that you're talking about completes the requirements, fills out the requirements within the next 2 weeks, the PA team will review, look for any clarifications needed, get back to you about those clarifications, and then if everything aligns, then the PA team will begin reviewing your application for review and approval. And then say another applicant, submits their application in the next month or two. Once that's submitted, we'll begin reviewing. So the idea is that when you're ready to submit your application, please submit it, and we will review it as they are submitted. However, all submissions have to be in by that August 16th deadline, and any application submitted after will not be reviewed. So it's just more of a deadline to provide, an end game, but at the same time, we encourage all applicants to submit their application when they're ready, and we will review it accordingly. And we do have a little bit of window for our internal team to review the application, but by no means does everyone have to submit it at the same time. So if that helps answer your question. And then as far as actual being awarded a notice to proceed to award, that will not be provided until after the deadline and after the review process.
Great, the August 16th deadline.
Yes, the August 16th
Okay.
deadline. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so we have about 6 weeks to review your application.
Okay, great. That's super helpful. And then one other follow-up question is for cities that decide not to proceed to phase 2 who have been approved for phase 1. Do you revert back to just like the processing order for cities that could then proceed to phase 2? Like, is there like a wait list, or how does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what you're asking is, say a phase 2 applicant drops out of the mobility
Yep.
project voucher program, then who will be next in line to move to phase 2 and potentially be awarded? Yes, it basically goes down the list that we have provided on the website, not the wait list, but just the applicant submission list. So we will continue down the list of applicants that are next available to be included in the phase 2 application and potentially be awarded.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks again, Brian. And then another Brian, Brian Adkins. Feel free to unmute.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Oh, sorry, Brian. I think you may have gotten muted, but
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, apologies.
Okay, thank you. I had a question about the consultation with the Bureau of Indian Affairs with that part of the implementation plan it talks about. Is that mainly for like construction related issues where we would need to get in some sort of advanced checking in with the BIA to get their approval prior to the 90-day, the August application deadline? Did you?
We did hear that question, yeah.
It's in
Okay.
page 79 of the implementation plan, BIA consent.
We have Deanna, who is a specialist in the tribal that can help answer that question for you.
Hi, Brian. Hi, this is Diana here.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
so
going to do right now. I'll take a look again. Can you hear me? Hold on.
yes,
Audio was coming a little muffled.
yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, turning off my camera too. Hi, and I think what we can do right now is take a look and I can follow up with you directly via email. I think, well, Abba is here. Can you, Mateo or Joey, can you please?
Having a hard time hearing.
Yes,
you, Deanna, so
I'll step in real quick. Yes, sorry, Deanna, you're a little muffled, but I think Ava here can help answer that question a little bit clearer to you, Brian. So Ava, take it away, please.
Yeah,
That's what I was asking. My audio, for some reason, is connected. Thank you, Ava.
no problem. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Brian, thanks for a question about the BIA. So that consent is really only required, first of all, for federally recognized tribes, and only required when the project involves an actual change on the tribal land. For example, let's say you're leasing a tribal trust land for a parking lot, or you want to install EV chargers, or putting a lien on the land for any reasons specific to that project. That's when we need that documentation of the IA consent. Otherwise, we don't need that, as you can see in the language of the IMS as applicable. So if you're not sure if it's applicable to a project or not, please let us know and we'll work with you to figure that out. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you very much.
nice. And Brian, I know, I think I'm your cohort facilitator. This is something that we can talk through. And, if the need for this should arise, it sounds like it's something that's kind of after, something to be aware of in like putting together the project, but it might not be necessary until heading towards voucher execution and after awards. So, but we'll definitely keep this in mind as we talk through the application components.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking that. We're getting up on time. I don't see any more hands. I haven't seen any more raised hands. So just want to remind everyone, your cohort facilitator will be reaching out to you if they haven't already, and to set up a meeting. So there'll be time to follow up here as well. And with that, I'll pass it back to Mateo to wrap.
Thank you, Joey. Great questions, everyone. And yes, if there's a need for clarification with your question, the cohort facilitator will reach out to you to provide clarity and discuss further those concerns or just gray areas. So happy to work with you in the application section where you may need a little bit more support. So that's kind of the transition to, you know, us discussing quickly the application phase recap and then next steps. So, you know, it's important to remember as you move forward with the MPV phase 2 application that there are some requirements. And so basically, let's just go over it. The applications must submit phase 2 requirements by August 16, 2023. That includes project narrative, project milestone schedule, community outreach plan, budget worksheet, financial sustainability plan, and additional documents, of which we've covered thoroughly here during this webinar. And then lastly, you know, just remember that the phase 2 applicants will receive notice of intent to award in early fall 2023, as we discussed a little bit earlier. And then with that, just want to congratulate everyone again on advancing to phase 2. A couple of reminders here. If you receive the notice of intent to award, you will have up to 180 days to execute the voucher agreement. This agreement formalizes your participation in the Mobility Project Voucher Program and establishes the terms and conditions for funding. It's also important to note that the time and effort invested in completing the Mobility Project Voucher application are not reimbursable. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure that you have carefully prepared your application to maximize the review process. And then after executing the voucher agreement, you may begin incurring costs related to administrative activities and other costs incurred. These activities can include obtaining insurance, acquiring necessary materials, and fulfilling other documentation requirements outlined by the program administrator. And then as a potential awardee, you will be required to participate in additional trainings. These training courses are designed to provide you with the necessary knowledge and skills to successfully launch your project and your service. It's important to actively engage in these trainings to basically leverage the resources and provide support to enhance the understanding of the program requirements and the best practices. And then if awarded and once the voucher agreement is executed, you will have up to 15 months to launch your service from the date of the execution. We wish you all success and congratulations on the Mobility Project Voucher application journey. If you have any questions or need further guidance, please reach out to your cohort facilitator. And again, good luck. Congratulations. And that is the webinar. Thank you all very much. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.